What's up, everyone? Octoberz here with my co-host Melly, and welcome to the Heartful Truth. This is season 4, episode 1. We are recording this August 20th, which is supposed to be like our first tropical storm here in San Diego. Hurricane Hillary, supposedly. It's been raining all day, so we thought it would be better to just start off the season since we're just chilling here at home. And right now, currently, we wanted to share a topic that kind of relates to the podcast and a little bit of what we've been, I guess, like not dealing with, but like part of our human experience, which is confidence and growth is what we wanted to talk about today. And right now, like I mentioned, we're dealing with the hurricane, and then this weekend, Blue Beetle and Russ, the rapper Russ, released a really dope album that kind of goes with today's topic. So I kind of wanted to shout him out because that album is really dope. Santiago, if you haven't heard it, I recommend it. It's his journey of self-growth, self-mastery, a little bit of everything that he's been dealing with from his success as a rapper, but also just like the real human experience. So I thought I would mention that because I really love that album. And maybe we could talk a little bit about his album and how it kind of goes with the topic. So I can pass it on to you, and you can share a little bit of your thoughts of like the album and kind of how you can relate to it, and like your growth self journey, I guess you can say.
Well, yeah, pretty much the whole album. If you listen to it, I recommend that you have to listen to it from start to beginning because it kind of flows. But I would say that I could relate to it because the way he speaks about, I guess, well, I mean, we've been following his journey since the beginning. So it definitely just, I don't even know I'm trying to piece it together, but definitely like there's one track called I Love You Boy. And that one, I feel like he's kind of speaking to his younger self. And I feel like the growth from when he was kind of how he was going through different things in his childhood and how all that. So I feel like I related to that because I kind of put myself in those shoes when I was like little Melly, and kind of when like our parents would go through I guess different situations that would affect us. And so I think that just like listening to the album, I feel like it just really, I can't even put it into words. You have to really listen to it to kind of really understand it. But also, what was the other one that I told you? Adventure and Tunnel Vision. I feel like, especially Tunnel Vision, I feel like that one is kind of where he finally realizes that he wants to become the best version of himself. So I feel like I can relate to that. I feel like where I am in life compared to where I was before. I did go through like a very dark time in my life where I had lost my motivation. And now where I am now, I feel like I finally found the sense of my purpose. And I feel like definitely where he is now, I feel like, not saying that we're in the exact same place, obviously, because there's two different human experiences, but definitely I can relate to pretty much the whole album and just the from the start to the ending. I feel like it's just you have to listen to it to kind of like see what your perspective and where you are in life to see what you feel.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like hip hop, as you guys seen probably through the seasons, we have a lot of hip hop artists, and we're part of the hip hop community in the underground scene. And so it plays a really important role in our lives. It's kind of like the soundtrack to my life, I guess you could say. But having this album, it's really cool. Like I just posted it on Instagram that I feel like this is the type of music that hip hop needs. And sometimes these type of rappers, just because Russ is Italian, but I guess people consider him white, sometimes they don't take his music seriously or take him as an artist seriously. But I think what he's doing is really important because not a lot of artists are talking about like mental health, like bettering yourself. There are some, because I don't want to knock those artists, because there are like the J. Cole's, the Kendricks, all that. But I don't feel like a lot of people that are like from our era or older are speaking about this, and it's really cool. Like I think Crooked I is also doing it, which he's a little bit in the older generation, but he's talking about health now. And so it's really important that these topics are spoken about, especially in our culture where we don't really talk about, mental health. We talk a lot about here in the Heartful Truth. And so that's what we wanted to talk about, like growth, and like that project is pretty like awesome that it came out around this time because We do need that. And yeah, I can relate to his journey a little bit. Obviously, like Melly said, it's like a different human experience, but a lot of it is relatable. Like the fact that his parents would have arguments and stuff like that, and obviously that affects you as a child, and the trauma, and kind of like I think that's the reason why we're creatives too, because it's like a form of escapism is when you have creativity and imagination. And I also recommend checking out his interview that he did with Zane Lowe from Apple Music, because he talks about that too, like how that's a form to deal with your trauma, and also kind of like what was I saying, like kind of like a form of like
Escape.
defense,
Yeah,
like a defense
defending
mechanism as well, to kind of escape from the real world and what's going on. But back to like growth, because I don't want to get into too much. Like obviously, I don't. It's not like an ad or commercial for his album, but I just thought it was really cool that it kind of relates to a little bit what we're going to talk about today. And so for growth, I kind of you touched on a little bit about it with like the album, but as far as for you, like what has been something that you feel like has been a direct impact from maybe doing the podcast, like as far as like your growth as a human being.
I think thinking back of like the first season to where we are now, I just feel like before I still get nervous obviously when we're gonna have like a guest on, but I feel like a little more confident coming in. Even if I don't know the person, I feel like I try my best to kind of try to make them feel comfortable because they might be nervous as well. And also I think just like I think I finally like I think I've mentioned this before, I finally feel like I found my place in the podcast, like in our podcast, kind of, because at first I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing or what my place was in the Heartful Truth. Kind of like I knew I wanted to do this, and I knew I wanted to make connections with other people, and wanted to have other people to come on and tell their stories and talk about like mental health and everything else that we've talked about, like deep topics. But I feel like I was just a little lost in the beginning, like on and then finally now that I started taking over like the promo part of it and helping you out with that part, like I feel like I don't know, I just like every time I do that, it makes me realize why we're doing this and how much like dope conversations we had with so many people, and like also the connections that we've built. Like now that we go places, I just feel like we come across someone that we know at events, or it's just like I don't know, I just feel it's different. Like I feel like a lot more confident than I did before.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree. For me, for sure. I think obviously this is like the second podcast, so I think the first one also was like a stepping stone as far as like getting more comfortable being on the camera. Also doing the vlog has helped with that, because I'm also like kind of like don't like having the limelight on me. But I know sometimes it's necessary because like it makes it more personable and for people to get to know you a little bit more. And I think for me, for sure, was like building like deeper connections, like friendships, relationships, because I've always been the type to kind of use sense of humor, I guess, as a defense mechanism, but also to like kind of keep myself at arm's length from people so I don't get like hurt. And I think that's like a trauma response probably from my childhood, because I did get bullied, and obviously like family stuff that happened as well. But it's helped me become more open with my emotions, because I mean, you know me, like I wasn't that type of person. Like, and before I used to have like not materialistic, I forget what the word is, like those type of friendships where it's just like surface level friendships where nobody really knew me, because I kind of just used, like I said, my sense of humor, and like just to keep, like people knew me just from like the surface, but nobody really knew like the real me. And I feel like now I've opened up a little bit more on that aspect. Obviously I'm still working on that. I'm now nowhere like near perfect or anything like that, but I've noticed that for sure it has been a difference in the way I've been the way I've grown, and then confidence too as well. Just like meeting people, because I'm like really shy, but like has kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone, because like you said, now go to events, we see people, and it is sometimes like awkward though. Like I mean, I think also like the pandemic had a lot to do with it, and we were introverted already, so like being able to like have a conversation, because again, we don't really do small talk, so those are awkward stuff for me. But if I now, it's kind of cool because we avoid those, so if we see somebody that we might have had on the podcast, we're like, oh, okay, we can just jump into like something like really deep, or like have a really dope like conversation about music, movies, whatever it is, but it just feels like more real versus like having like, oh, how was the weather, or you know, like
Mm-hmm.
just like those surface levels. I always hated that, and it makes it just feel so awkward. um and then I'm trying to think of anything else. I think like also like self growth, as far as like kind of like Russ touches on, like becoming a better version of yourself. Not saying that we're like perfect again, because we have our moments where, you know, we end up like getting pissed over stupid things. But like right now, I was trying to set this thing up and I was getting fucking frustrated with technology, like it always does. So that obviously I'm still kind of like Russ said, is like I'm nowhere near the better version, but I'm gonna for sure get there. Um,
Yeah, and then how would we can touch base on too, because we said individually. How do you think it's impacted us together? Like, what do you would say?
Um, I guess kind of like you said, like at the beginning, we were like getting like arguments. I mean, we still do, um, but it's not as bad, I guess, because we know what role we play. Um, and then I mean, we've always been close.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of what else. Like,
Mm, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to think of something else too. Yeah, because we that's a good thing too. I feel like if you have a co-host, I think the fact that I think we already, like you said, we were close. So I feel like we just had to find what our role was in here, and then once we figured that out, it was smooth sailing. Because I feel like when you don't know the person, like at least we know what ticks us off, what annoys us, what we don't feel comfortable
yeah,
with. So I think that helps too.
yeah, and I think another thing, I think you were a little bit more than me, but I know you, with everything that happened, because you lost like a close friend, rest in peace, Hildy, and like our grandma, like a couple years apart. You kind of closed off a little bit on your emotions. So I think that's another thing that we've grown, is like as far as like of our vulnerability,
Mm.
as far as like being able to share that stuff, especially for me, because I'm not the type of person to like share a lot of personal stuff. Like now, as I've gotten older and I became an adult and have like I said, deeper friendships, that I've been able to share certain things that I've never told people.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like with this show or the podcast, like we've been able to have to be vulnerable, because we want
Mm-hmm.
other people to open up to us, and we have to like kind of show them like, okay, if I'm opening up, then you're able to do it too, right?
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, I feel like um it's crazy when you go through things like that. Then I think when someone comes on the show, it's if you see someone going through it, then you kind of, not that you put yourself in their shoes, because you don't ever not understand what they're going through, but I think when you share those experiences, um you kind of make other people say it's okay, like, you know, like it's hard, it's not something easy to talk about your feelings, especially like I think when you go through those things, it's kind of like you become more, I think, selective on who you share your stuff with, because you just start realizing that not everyone's gonna truly care when you're sad to say, but not everyone's gonna really. I think everyone has their own thing going on, but I feel like when you really connect with certain people, the right ones will go ahead and be there to listen and be understanding as possible.
Yeah, and like you said, also like having shared experiences, like if you've dealt
Yeah.
with loss,
Mm-hmm.
or um having like strong relationship with your parents or your grandma or whatever it may be, like
Mm-hmm.
those things also kind of give you credibility,
Yeah.
too, because I know like I had friends when I was younger, before my grandma passed, and like I couldn't really understand like either not having a dad, because we had both our parents, or like somebody lost a relative or somebody that was really close, but I couldn't never really understand it, just because I had never like dealt with it. But then once you do deal with that, as far as like somebody passing away that was really like close to you, then it changes you, and then you're able to kind of, like Melly said, like we can't be in that person's shoes, because everybody has different relationships with whoever, like if they lose a loved one or something like that. But we at least kind of know at least how, like we've been through that experience, and so it makes it for us to be more, I guess, not the word vulnerable, but like you can actually understand, I guess, a little bit about what they're going through, and then offer any like, I guess,
Oh,
tips
it's
or
like
stuff.
empathy, kind of pretty
Yeah,
much.
exactly, like empathize, yeah, with the
Empathize.
person. So that's also, and then also just being transparent too, I think. Like I think we've always been those type of people. I don't think we've been like, at least maybe in high school I was like a little like two-faced, but because I think all as teenagers you're trying to still navigate and trying to figure out like who's there and who's not. But I think we're really transparent as well and authentic to who we are. So we never try to be someone we're not. And I think it comes with age too, because like I said, like in high school, I'm not like the person I was in high school. Like I'm way different. Even the person I was like 10 years ago, if you met me when I worked in the criminal justice system. So I've changed a lot. I think we've all changed a lot. Again, talking about growth. Like kind of you talked about, what's it called? What's the boy, lover boy? What's it called? The song?
Oh, I love you, boy.
I love you, boy. I'm sorry.
I love her.
He's talking to his younger self, right? So if that's a question I think we've asked each other, but like for you, what's something you would tell your like younger self or advice that you would give to your younger self, you now as who you are now versus who you were then?
Oh, damn, that's deep. I feel like, I have to think about that one. There's a lot of things I wish I could tell myself back then, but I feel like to kind of go through life, because just do things even without being afraid, because even though let me see, people are gonna judge you no matter what. So I feel like and you're gonna make mistakes regardless, like even if you think you're not, you're gonna go through life and make a lot of mistakes, but those actually, the mistakes that you make or the things that you go through, the tough times, are the ones that make you I guess stronger, and actually like I guess learn a lot, like learn to not go through those things again, and kind of like I guess help other people, because I feel like, I think I saw a quote the other day that sometimes like the pain that you go through, you can help other people go, like kind of like what I do with my writing. Like I share my experiences because I know that there's other people that might go something similar, not exactly the same, but I think like telling my younger self to just like go for it and to not be afraid. There's a lot of things, but that's mainly probably one of the main things that I would say.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, I think it's always been like a what's it called? A theme in my life is like patience. I think it's like be patient, because it will happen. Obviously, if you're putting in the work as well, not just like hoping it will happen, but being patient with like kind of like the journey, enjoying the journey.
Yeah. Or like present moment too.
Yeah, like appreciating every single moment, because obviously our grandma was like we're super close to her, so like sometimes you like think about like, damn, I should have like visited her more, or stuff like that. So stuff like that makes me like, oh shit, I should have like cared more about enjoying the moment and spending the time with your loved ones, because you never know. And what other things, like I guess like I said, patience, appreciating the moment, enjoying the journey, because like for example, shout out to the Invisible Ponchos, they killed it at the Wonder Museum, and shout out to So Loca for making that happen. We've seen them grow, and then like kind of like we've had moments too where it's been the lows for all of us, and so it's kind of cool. I think
we've all seen each other kind of like at our lowest, even though it's crazy, because I was thinking back, I was like, we literally got close during the pandemic. But it was one of those friendships that like, even though you don't know someone for that long, I feel like I've known them for a long time. Like especially like I feel like with Kelsey Ray, like I feel like with him we have always had really deep conversations with him. Not saying that the rest of the team obviously, but I feel like with him, he's always been like the person, like we've told him that he has to take care of himself, because he's really always willing to help kind of be there for other people. But it's really cool, to see like their growth, like you mentioned, and how much in such little time they've like kind accomplished. Yeah.
And what else would I tell my younger self? I think you mentioned something that reminded me.
Something with the moment.
Kind of. No, it was what was it? I think kind of like also don't be hard on yourself. I think it's like the biggest part, because for me, I think the thing I still struggle with it today, and I mentioned it in a video, but like anxiety, I would like, and for me, like I said, it affects my stomach. So when I say that, I don't want to be TMI, but like I do like throw up, or I'll get like nauseous. And there's a cool book, thanks to like Kelsey Ray. It was called the War of Art. by Steven Pressfield, I believe. And there's a excerpt in there where like there's this artist that's been doing it for like, I don't know, 40, 50 years or something. And he still gets nervous every time he performs, like he throws up. And I was like, oh shit, like I can relate to this. And like the fact, because I would always get like hard on myself as far as like, oh shit, like I freaking like, again, I let the anxiety win or whatever. But like being okay, because it's like, it's always like every day is like a whole new day, and you have to like start from zero. And it's okay, because sometimes you get too hard on yourself and you're like, damn it, like I fucked up and now I got to start all over again. But like it being that it's okay to start over, there's nothing wrong with that. Because it's like a daily kind of battle, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I have another one too. That's a good one right now that you brought that up. It's kind of like kind of what was the one that you just said,
to not be too hard on yourself.
Oh well, yeah, it kind of goes with that, because kind of like also to being proud of your every step or accomplishment, because I think
yeah,
too, like sometimes we think we do something and then you really want to go on to the next thing right away, but it's like sinking in and taking in that moment and really appreciating it, because at one point you maybe wanted to give up, or maybe you didn't want to be here, or whatever it is. It's just like even breathing, honestly, waking up every morning, being healthy, like those little things. When you're having a bad day, I think it's just holding on to the simple things, kind of. I've learned that being the simplest things is the most important part. Having your family healthy, or your friends around you, or those people that you care about, or I think it's just the simplest thing.
It was like the zombie land. What rule was that? I forgot, number 3 or something. I can't remember. It was like enjoy the little things.
Yeah, pretty
much. But yeah, I agree with you. I think another thing that we wanted to talk about, because it kind of goes in hand with confidence, is like our identity, right? Like that's another thing, at least for me, and then I'll pass it on to you. But as far as like getting to know myself better too, doing this podcast, like all the creative stuff that I've been doing, like music, the podcast, poetry, art, all that kind of encompasses pretty much like my identity. Because every piece that we put into this art is pretty much like a piece of our soul. So one thing is for sure, like I've learned to love myself more, because I mean, you already know, both of us kind of like struggle with getting bullied, and also like being Mexican American is gonna like, and being a woman, right?
Oh yeah.
All those things together, it kind of sucks sometimes, because like you have insecurity, whether it's your body, the way you look. For sure, me, I was like, I didn't love myself at all. Like, and I think it's not me to blame, but it's like the environment you're in, also like how you're brought up and all that stuff. And it's your parents were trying to do the best, right? And so obviously, like, you have to go through that self journey. And I think a lot of people don't talk about that. We just mentioned, like, we're talking about like now where we're at, and like how it's good, but it's painful, right? Like growth. And that's what's like the hard. I think that's another thing that I would tell my younger self is like, it's going to be scary and painful, because growth is like, it's painful, but it's going to be worth it, because like there's people that we meet that sometimes sadly like those people might never grow. Kind of like, I think Snoop Dogg has a cool quote or some interview where he's talking about how he wanted to bring all his homies with him, but he realized that you can't bring everybody with you, sadly. Like, either they can meet you in the middle or where you're at, but you can't go back down for them, sadly. And so like loving myself, and that's all shown in the music and our podcast too, because if not, I wouldn't even want to be on the fucking camera, obviously. But like learning how to love yourself, and like I've learned to like love my freaking facial features, because I hated my nose for the longest time. I remember like as a kid I kind of wanted to get freaking surgery, but then I was like, yeah, I don't want to go through all that. That's too painful. I mean, physical pain is different than like the mental and all that stuff that you go through when you're growing, self-growth. But for sure that has made me like more confident in who I am, loving myself. Obviously there's still days where like, oh shit, I want to lose weight or whatever, but I think it's also like wanting to care for yourself, I guess, right? What about for you, like as far as your like identity and confidence, because it goes hand in hand, like you talked about your confidence, but what about your identity? How do you think this being in the creative world has helped that part of you?
Yeah, I can agree with you on loving myself more too. Because I feel like for me it was more that I wanted outside approval, like from other people, even significant other, or just people that I guess would come into my life as like someone that liked me, like love interest type. I would always look for other people to validate me, and I think it's always within you. Like no matter, someone can tell you so much, but it's always gonna be you that's gonna like it's important for you to love yourself, obviously. Like no matter what, if you have a good person in your life that is gonna treat you well and respect you, obviously that's important. But I feel like most importantly is loving yourself, and being your biggest fan. I feel like that's what has taught me as well. Always cheering myself on, because not everyone's gonna do it like you do it for yourself in reality. Like
That's true.
no matter, obviously, if people care for you, obviously they're gonna want to see you succeed, but the one that always gets yourself going is yourself. So I think definitely, yeah, that has, I think just getting to know myself too, like the things that I don't like about myself, that it's okay. Some things that I do like, obviously holding on to the things that I do love about myself, and then being, I guess, more patient with myself as well. But yeah, I think that's a big thing. I think the growth journey helps you love yourself more.
That's true.
Because I think when you're a child and you're going through, you don't really know yourself, and then you're letting other people influence you, and kind of like even sometimes, sadly, your family, they don't mean it in a bad way, but sometimes they don't understand themselves either, so they're throwing their insecurities on you.
That's true.
So I think just kind of learning more about yourself, and I think that's the important part. And I think it's okay when you're a kid that you might not know yourself because you're still young. So as you get older, I think I've realized that. And I think even though I've always been, I feel like very mature for my age, but I feel like I still made mistakes. And I think that's where you learn from, pretty much. But yeah, I would say that's the most big thing, like identifying yourself as you get older.
That's true. And I think, again, going back to that Russ interview, I really recommend it if you guys are into what we just talked about. Because he also talks about like how, and I mentioned it a little bit about your parents, like not being, like they were trying to do the best they could. So another thing about growth is also, like you said, like dealing with confronting yourself and all the like the belief systems and all that stuff, because all that stuff, like you said, was projected from people that were around you, your friends, family, all that stuff is not really your thoughts. And that's the reason why I'm also not religious anymore, because I was like, well, why do I believe this? And then I kind of went to the source. I'm like, wait, it's because my parents told me, but I'm like, what do I believe? So you kind of have to do that rewiring. And also, like, you have to like forgive your parents too. It's another thing that he mentions in his interview that's really good. And I think that's a thing that people need to go through, that growth is, like you said, like getting to know yourself, forgiveness for people, either your friends or family, because if you're, that victim mentality is never going to serve you. Just, and we've dealing with that right now, and I don't want to mention names, but a close family member, and so like if you play the victim mentality, like is at the end of the day is like you can control what's within you, but you can also you need to stop blaming others for whatever happened to you. Because if you have that mentality where like, oh, the world happens to me versus whatever actions I take, it's what causes the cause and effect, right? But if you're always thinking like, well, everything's happening to me, then you pretty much kind of don't really have control, right? And we do all have control. Like obviously external forces, you can't control that, but stuff that is within your control, you're able to control. And that's a big part of the journey, of growth journey. And it's always like never ending, because I want to, like I said, keep bettering myself, because there's still times where, like I said, we all kind of like make mistakes still.
It's hard. It's not easy. It's like, I think it's an ongoing process, because like you said, no one's perfect. And I feel like, oh, who knows, maybe, like I feel like you'll get to like a version that you might see yourself better than where you were before. But I feel like every day is like I guess you're always going to be learning something,
or like an opportunity to just become better. And that's another thing, like with the podcast, and even before the podcast, like hip hop has been a huge reason why I went into this like self-healing journey, because a lot of the rappers that I listen to, like conscious rappers, I guess if you want to call them, kind of set me on that path a little bit. And also like being self-aware is another one.
That's a good one.
Kind of shout out to like The Walking Dead, because I remember it was like one of the it was a year in 2015 when I had like my midlife crisis, is what I call it. And I remember I was watching that show, and that show kind of saved my life, I guess you could say, because I was depressed. and there's a scene, and sorry guys, it's been, I think it's like season 6 or something, I can't remember, but if I'm spoiling it, that's on you, because has been out for a long time. But it's when I think it's Bob dies, and it's freaking sad. But when he's walking with oh my god, I forgot, she's a black actress in there. I forgot her name.
I know her name.
I forgot her name. But they're walking together, and he's like, he says something, and I remember I wrote a song off of that, because he says like self-awareness is such a beautiful thing. And I was like, damn, that shit's like deep. Like, I was like thinking too deep when I was watching that show, because I was going through it. But I was like, damn, that's deep. And it's true, because if you're not self-aware of all the stuff that you're doing to yourself, or like, because sometimes we all think, like I said, if you're having that victim mentality, you're like thinking, oh, this person did this to me, but then you don't think about like what are you doing too, because you're not always the good guy either.
That's true too. And I feel like if you're kind of bringing it back to like kind of with whoever if you end up being, or it doesn't have to be a significant other, but it can be like a friend or something. Mm-hmm. But it's crazy, because if you're, but in this case, like for example, like me and my partner, kind of like, it's taught me more things about myself. I feel like that I have issues. It's not even him, it's me, like. And I think you grow, like, kind of. Yeah. And it can be a friend, too. Like, it doesn't have to be. It could be, like, you start seeing with your friend, if you've known them for a long time, or a family member, and then you realize that the problem is you. It's not necessarily that it always has to be the other person, you know, because sometimes we're like, oh, well, they did this and this and this. But then you kind of have to sit and be like, okay, they did this, but I did this, too. And it's kind of like your own issue that you have to fix, kind of. Yeah. But it's cool that you're bringing up shows, too, because I feel like when you're going through things, like a show kind of does, a show or a song, it can be any form of art that I think kind of like can get you through things. It kind of, for me, was Grey's Anatomy. I feel like that's why that show, I always, like, every time I was going through something, it would always go through with what I was going through. It was weird. But yeah,
even I know people are gonna probably clown me, but Vampire Diaries.
I remember you were
when Bonnie's grandma also dies. And again, if I killed it for somebody, sorry. Like, it's been on Netflix. It was around the time, like, or at least they replayed that season when it was our grandma had passed away. And there's a scene where like it's like the veil to the other side or whatever, and like she tells her like something really nice. And I don't know, I felt like my grandma was talking through the screen to me. And like, I think it's always like, again, back to the creative, is like, I feel like movies and music, like those two things have played a huge role in my life. So I love those things. It's obviously it's a form of escapism, but it's also a way to like kind of like cope with certain things. And for me, it's always been therapeutic, those two things. And like, kind of in the beginning of the episode, I said Blue Beetle came out, and it kind of goes with identity, because it's like the first Latino superhero on the big screen, and the cast behind the scenes are Latinos, so it's like, it's a really proud moment. I think before I would have been probably ashamed, not that I was ashamed of who I was, but I think it's just more like you want to fit in as a kid with everybody. You're like, I don't want to be different. But now I was like, I appreciate like me being different, and I appreciate this film that's like come out. And hopefully, like with Hurricane Hillary, doesn't get killed on the box offices. But I know that obviously there's the hurricanes not all over the world, just down here in California. So hopefully the other states go and support it, and countries and stuff like that, because it's dope to see something like that, like us represented on the big screen. And it's talking about identity. Like, it's a proud moment too.
Yeah.
And I know you haven't seen it yet, but I have to go see it for a third time, because I went with my parents and they loved it, and Melly has to go see it now. It's an excuse to buy another ticket again. And then to take it back to growth, and self-awareness we were talking about. Another thing that with self-awareness, like you said, like, and then you touched a little bit about like your friends too, making you self-aware sometimes. Like we talk about it too a lot, where we have like, we call them like yes men, right? We want to have like real friends will tell you straight like it is. Like Kill Ray is one of them, where he sat us down before and kind of told us like, hey, like what the fuck are you guys doing? You know, like, so sometimes you do need people like to kind of snap you into reality, or like make you self-aware of things that because I think they want to see the best for you, right? And it's not like, it doesn't come like, again, for the Heartful Truth where the name came from. It's like they want to see a better version for yourself and better things happen for you. And so sometimes they have to tell you the reality of it, even if it hurts or if it's hurtful, right? Or heartful. But that's another thing. And then one thing like for you that you kind of got me into and Kill Ray was like meditation, which I was kind of like, not against it, but I was just like, how's it gonna help me? And it has like I don't practice it as much as I should though. I know again I'm trying to like work on it to try to do it more because it does help with my anxiety. I think one of the things that I've been doing for myself is like going for walks in the morning. That does help. Um, and then like you've kind of trying to convince me to go to therapy, which is that's another thing that I'm gonna try to do. Because again, like that's something that we don't really talk about in our cultures and like taking care of our mental health. And if we can't take care of ourselves, then we can't really do the things we love. So we got to take care of ourselves, our mental. And so that's the next step in my journey. And we'll see how that goes. Maybe throughout the season, if I start it, then I can talk about it. But what about for you? What's something else like in your growth journey that you want to do or are currently working on?
Mm, I think I want to try to do more things to step out of my comfort zone. I feel like I tend to I think once I'm comfortable with something, I tend to just stick to it, and then I guess I become to do it consistently, which is good. But then I feel like then I get stuck there, and then I kind of beat myself up, and I'm like, why am I just doing this over and over again every day? But I feel like for me, like, you know how you're mentioning therapy,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's crazy to say, but me writing, because I used to not write every day. I recently started doing that, so I write every day, and for me, that's been my therapy. Like, even if there's some things that I don't post, that I won't post on Instagram, but I feel like writing out my feelings, even if no one hears them, I feel like, because there's so much that goes on in your head, but I feel like I think even though I've told her to get into therapy, maybe it would be because I've done only one session a long time ago, and I didn't go back with the lady. But I think it would be good probably because I think therapy, I think it brings you awareness. Even though I did that one session, it changed like a whole, like my whole path to, and made me see things that I wasn't seeing before. So I think, yeah, like getting more out of my comfort zone for sure. I hope to, I have to really just, and then I keep saying for a while that I've been wanting to like release a book, and that's one of my biggest dreams. Like, so I hope that I just have to put myself to do it, because I think it's like myself that's stopping me, and it's just like little things that are stopping me from doing it, which is the simplest things. Is like I see it and I think that it's difficult, so then I'm kind of like, oh, do I really have to do this? But I think you just have to like kind of do little steps every day that's gonna get you there. I already have the hardest part done, which is making the thing. I already have it all together. I just have to literally like pretty much type it up and pretty much put it out there or publish it pretty much. But hopefully that will be my next thing to kind of like get me out there, because I feel like that would be, not saying that that's like how we said like reaching that accomplishment is gonna like, oh my god, like make me feel all types of better, but I
Yeah.
think it'll just be something that I want to accomplish and that I want to make myself proud, or make myself proud completing that.
Yeah. 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 I mean, is there anything else? I think we covered most of
mm,
it, but is there anything else before we get out of here, or did I miss anything else?
I'm trying to think of, let me see. Oh, I think you touched everything. Only did, yeah, I think we did talk about everything, huh?
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode or you took something from it. Because that's what we want to do every time we get on here. And then for you to get to know us, as we were always starting now the season with us first, and then the guest, because we also want to have you guys get to know us and where we're at on our journey. And feel free to like drop us comments or even DM us if you guys have anything that you want us to talk about, or any questions you might have, or any advice you need, or anything like that. Obviously, like I said, we're still human, so we're not perfect, but if we can help any way, we can. And we have merch too, so we have to plug that in. Sorry, we got merch. We're actually working on new merch that we need to share. We just been kind of like all over the place. We have so many things going on, but platform collection bodega, I think .com,
Yes, I think.
or platformcollection.com. Either one goes to the same store. The team is also working on their merch, and I have merch too from Nightmare on Sedgwick
Stickers.
Avenue. Yeah, she has stickers for poetry. So yeah, support us, follow us. Me at 7 Octoberz, Melly at Melly _ MO9, and together at the Heartful Truth, and also at Platform Collection. Shout out to the team. And yeah, any way you want to like support us, just like I said, message us if you want to know what kind of merch we have, and we'll send you guys more information. But thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't already, and follow us and all that, and comment, share. That helps us a lot. Thank you guys. Anything else?
Thank you guys so much for your support, and we'll stay tuned for the rest of this new season. It's going to be a great one. We're excited for it.
Yeah, thank you guys. Peace.
Peace.